Amidst the grand tapestry of human endeavors, from the primordial wheel's inception to the celestial aspirations of distant planets, mankind has woven a profound journey. Yet, in the face of cosmos, does technology stand as the sole beacon to illuminate the path to Mars and beyond? Will the astronaut conquer Mars, even if it means putting everything on the line, including his own life?
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
The inventor and astronaut William D. Staniforth is preparing for a mission to go to Mars. He is to become the first man to set foot on the red planet. He'll be followed by a spaceship commanded by Captain Emily Maddox. Together they will take the first steps towards establishing a human colony beyond Earth. Once preparations are complete, the Staniforth launches, embarking on a journey of 270 days. At Mission Control, the fate of the mission is closely monitored by Louis Skinny Skinner, keeping in direct communication with William and providing him with valuable tips. After the launch, he suggested that the astronaut conduct diagnostics of the ship's vital systems. William follows the instructions from Earth, but as he departs, he casts parting gazes at the blue planet he is leaving. Traveling through space for William becomes a chain of tasks that, at first glance, seem boring, but they are essential to his survival and the success of the mission. The astronaut conducts tests on the ship's systems, tends to plants, eats, and performs physical exercises. He thinks a lot about his flight and his role, carefully recording his thoughts and observations in a diary. 12 days into the mission, William holds a video conference with students on Earth, telling them about the intricacies of the journey and the challenges ahead on the surface of the red planet. He reports that food and fuel have been delivered to Mars in advance, but the main problem in his survival will be the extraction of water. And in this he will be helped by a machine that he designed himself. It's capable of extracting water from the driest soil. William recalls that no one on Earth believed in his development, and then he went for 3 days in the desert without water supplies, taking only his invention. He managed to extract water from the dry desert soil and returned safely to the base. The Staniforth project was then approved and started to be readied for the Mars mission. William continues to work on the ship, and through video calls gets acquainted with the people who are ready to join the mission in the second phase. A few weeks later, William connects his ship to the space station to replenish his supplies. He meets 2 of the station's residents, Greenstreet and Worsley, but something about their mission has gone wrong. The plants and mice they were experimenting with have died. William sees that Worsley is going through severe psychological torment, and Greenstreet, in conversation with the guest, suggests him to change his decision and return to Earth. At this time, a second ship with Emily Maddox on board launches from Earth. The 3 men experience different emotions from the broadcast of the launch, and Worsley utters a strange phrase about the unknown that lies ahead. Nevertheless, William Staniforth leaves the space station and continues his journey. He again participates in a video conference, communicating with a woman who asks about his feelings at the sight of the distant Earth. William says he feels an incredible closeness to the Earthlings despite being at a great distance from them. On the 41st day of the mission, there was a minor malfunction in the water extraction unit. Although it caused some difficulties, William is happy to be distracted from his daily tasks. The astronaut notices that dust is gradually accumulating on his ship, from plant debris, his skin, and so on. He realizes that his mission faces the same problems as the space station staff: lack of hope and frustration. In addition, they suffered separation from their families. William reflects on the difficulties he has faced, and he has a dream where he sees his rig break down and he has to drink a dirty liquid. To distract himself from his sad thoughts, William begins to learn Spanish. He continues to take care of the plants, but one day he realizes that he has lost contact with Emily's ship and the control center on Earth. After a while, communication is restored and the astronaut learns the news that the second ship has deviated from its course. Lewis delivers the information that the gyroscope on the Emily spacecraft has malfunctioned. At this point, William takes charge of the repairs via video call. Under his supervision, the woman manages to restore the ship's functionality. The course becomes correct again, and the mission continues on its way, confirming the perseverance and resourcefulness of humans in the face of unexpected challenges. On the 66th day of mission of the Staniforth spacecraft, an exposure to radiation caused by a solar flare occurs. The material emissions were observed majestically, but did not harm the astronaut. William continues to work with a water extraction unit and runs into trouble again. He tries to repair the unit and accidentally causes a short circuit, causing his drinking water to become contaminated. The astronaut decides to keep silent about the problem so as not to disrupt his mission. William reduces his daily water consumption and tries to allocate the available resources wisely. He devotes the next days to finding a way out of the situation, looking for any opportunity to repair his rig. Lewis begins to suspect that something is wrong with the mission and tries to find out the details from William. But he does not want to interrupt his space journey, so hide the real situation from mission control. Meanwhile, from Earth he is informed that the Emily Maddox ship will not be able to continue the mission after all, and it has been decided that the woman should return to Earth. William's situation becomes more complicated when his water supply gradually runs out, and the plants, which he has also restricted in liquid, begin to die. The inventor must find a solution or his ship will be forced to return. In one of the ship's compartments, he discovers a place where condensation collects. This makes William remember the fundamental laws of nature and the water cycle. The astronaut begins purposefully collecting condensation from dying plants. He puts them in a container and covers them with foil, which gives him a chance to save a few drops of the precious liquid. But this solution is a temporary one. The breakthrough in finding a solution came when William discovered a way to extract hydrogen and oxygen from the soil and then combine them into a precious liquid. However, the resulting water was extremely contaminated and could not be drunk. Days went by and William could not find a solution to the problem. His frustration grew, and the astronaut had to face an unpleasant truth. Even if he makes it to Mars, he simply cannot survive without a functioning water extraction plant. A twist in the movie's plot occurs when, frustrated by the failed repair attempts of William D. Staniforth, decides to report the problem to Mission Control on Earth. Lewis realizes that further continuation of the mission will result in the astronaut's death. So he informs him that the flight will have to be terminated and the ship will head in the opposite direction. He gives William 2 days to find a way to repair the rig. If he fails to do so, Earth will force the ship back. But during the 160 days of flight, William has thoroughly explored all the possibilities of his ship and the available equipment. He realizes that the chances of finding a solution are extremely slim, reflecting on the goals of his space journey. William reviews reports from people preparing for the second phase of the mission to colonize Mars. He reflects on the importance of his adventure and remembers how far mankind has come by building machines capable of transporting people to other worlds. However, the astronaut believes that beyond technological advances, the human experience of such spaceflight is of immense importance. He reflects that the primary goal of the mission is not simply to realize technological power, but to understand the very humanity that serves that power. William reflects on the thrill of being able to walk on an unknown and remote planet that no one has ever set foot on before, enjoy a Martian sunset, and experience all the emotions that accompany such amazing adventures. In his opinion, it is these feelings that give the main value to his spaceflight. William recalls the period on Earth that he dedicated to building a machine capable of sustaining life on another planet. The man recalls the final stages of his experience in the desert, when he was still unable to obtain water. In a fainting state, it seemed to him that his body was vaporizing. Sensitivity in his legs disappeared, and he became whole with the desert. So the astronaut notes that this extreme situation, which brought him to the brink of death and which he experienced, only strengthened his resolve to go to the distant red planet, even if it was a journey into the unknown. 2 days later, Lewis reminds William that it is time to turn the ship around and admit defeat. He asks the astronaut to put on a spacesuit and take a seat in the cockpit, a maneuver to be performed remotely from Mission Control. William realizes the hopelessness of the situation and the failure of the mission. Nevertheless, he makes a bold and unexpected decision. He ignores the messages from Earth and prevents the ship from turning. William returns to the previous course, the direction to Mars. The man realizes that he is alone with the vast cosmos. He marvels at the successive solar flares, realizing that this is the only occupation he has left. A few weeks after deciding to refuse Earth's help and continue his journey, William recognizes the hopelessness of his situation. He records his reflections and thoughts in a diary for future generations, recounting the risks he faced without mission control and Earth support. He now has to adjust the ship's course on his own if necessary. Even the slightest miscalculation could throw him into deep space, bypassing his destination. The condition of his ship is getting worse and worse every day. The astronaut has to fix new problems every day to maintain at least minimal conditions to continue the flight. He divides the precious water no longer into sips, but into drops. But the man continues to record all his experiences in a diary. William describes in his diary his feelings of frustration and even guilt over the failure of the mission. He recalls those who invested great effort to make his mission a reality, as well as those who supported him from the very beginning of the ship's launch. The astronaut feels that he has let down all those who believed in the success of his journey. He begins to think of Emily Maddox, the captain of the second ship, who was forced to return to Earth. William hopes that his colleague will be able to return to the dream of flying to another planet and continue exploring the distant world they started together. The man also shares his feelings of loneliness in the cold metal space of the spacecraft. The gravity on the ship becomes a heavy burden for him, difficult to bear. He begins to question the value of his life to others. William experiences strong emotions, and at one point there is even a desire to end his tedious journey, open the hatch of the ship and leave it. A few weeks later, William receives a message from Lewis on Earth. He reports that the ship is successfully approaching Mars, and the people on the planet admire the astronaut's actions and are sincerely worried about him. Leaving for the final stage of the landing, the astronaut gets into the descent capsule and begins his journey to the surface of Mars, penetrating through the atmosphere. The device lands on the red planet's desolate landscape, and William records a message of his successful landing, intended for those who will hear his message in the future. The protagonist reflects on the fact that nothing can be born or die on this planet, and despite realizing the hopelessness of his situation, the astronaut makes the assumption that he will live forever. The movie concludes with William marvels at the views of Mars, leaving the viewer with hope for a positive development.
Watch fantastic recaps by fans of the movies.
What do you think? Can one give his life for a trip to other worlds, and was the hero right in his decision to continue the voyage? We have tried to make the most interesting and useful retelling for you. Every comment you write brings joy and inspiration. Feel free to leave them under the video to make the stories even brighter and better.